Welcome to today's explainer. Grab a seat, because today I am going to be your enthusiastic guide through a really fantastic literary tutorial. We're going to dive into a beautifully crafted story called The Wisdom of the Quiet Tide. Now, in this session, we're going to track the narrative arc, pull out the core moral, and, most importantly, we are going to build up our reading comprehension by breaking down the key vocabulary used throughout the text. Think of this as your interactive study guide, where we unlock the deeper meanings hidden right there in the simple words. Let's get started.
Here is our syllabus for today. First up, Part 1, The Boy by the Sea. Then, Part 2, The Unexpected Storm. Moving right along to Part 3, Earning the Town's Respect. And finally, wrapping up with Part 4, Lessons in Silent Growth.
All right, Section 1, The Boy by the Sea. Let's jump in and meet Ethan, a kid who much prefers the quiet rhythm of the ocean over the daily chatter of everyone his age.
Okay, let's pause right here on our very first passage class. The story immediately hands us two excellent descriptive words to set our scene and establish exactly how the town views Ethan. The text says, "In a small coastal town lived a quiet boy named Ethan who sat by the sea. People thought it was strange." Let's pull out that first vocabulary word, coastal. This simply means related to the sea or shore. And what's really interesting here is how this single word instantly grounds our story right beside the ocean. It essentially makes the sea a central element, kind of like another character in the story, right from the very first sentence.
Next up, we have strange, meaning unusual or different, and this brilliantly illustrates how the villagers viewed Ethan's quiet nature. They deemed him strange simply because his behavior was unusual compared to everyone else who spent their evenings, playing and talking. It sets up this immediate sense of isolation for our main character.
Now check out this dialogue exchange where a boy named George confronts Ethan. George literally laughs at Ethan's habit of just sitting there. When Ethan explains that he's listening to the sea, George dismisses it entirely. And this is crucial because it highlights the core conflict in our story: action versus observation.
George actually labels Ethan's actions as pointless, which means having no purpose or value. George looks at Ethan sitting there silently and thinks there is absolutely zero value to be gained from it. Keep this word in mind, class, because the entire story hinges on proving whether Ethan's habit is actually pointless or not.
Let's move to Section 2, The Unexpected Storm. Every good story needs an inciting incident, and here we get a massive test of nature as a sudden weather event threatens the whole town.
So, the really crucial point here is how the action escalates in three specific beats. Step 1, a violent storm hits. Step 2, the wind begins to howl. Step 3, a massive wave and a strong surge crash into the shore. This sequence suddenly puts the local fishermen and their boats in immediate danger, and it skyrockets the stakes of our story. Let's unlock our first vocabulary word from that action sequence: storm. A storm represents a violent weather condition with wind and rain. In literature, you'll often see a storm used as a physical test for the characters, totally disrupting the town's peace and forcing everyone into action. Next, notice the descriptive verb howled. To howl means to make a loud, strong sound, typically associated with animals, or, in this case, the wind. This word choice is absolutely fantastic because it paints such a vivid auditory picture. You can almost hear that aggressive, animalistic roar of the winds threatening the village. Finally, the climax of the sequence gives us surge, defining the sudden, powerful movement of that one huge, crashing wave. A surge is unstoppable and overwhelming. The fishermen literally don't know what to do against a surge of this magnitude.
That brings us to Section 3, Earning the Town's Respect. Let's look at the calm after the crash, where the true value of Ethan's quiet nature is finally revealed.
Right in the middle of all this chaos, Ethan is just standing near the shore. He actually predicts exactly when the sea is going to calm down, telling them it will happen right after one strong surge. Minutes later, exactly as he said, the wave crashes and the sea calms, allowing the fishermen to save their boats. There is such a stark contrast here between Ethan's laser-focused demeanor and the complete panic of the villagers.
Let's look at the vocabulary in this moment. The text tells us Ethan was watching carefully, meaning he was observing with attention and caution. While everyone else was running around panicking, Ethan's years of so-called pointless sitting allowed him to read the environment with incredible care.
This is in direct contrast to the villagers, who were confused.
To be confused means to be unable to understand something. The villagers are entirely unable to understand how Ethan could possibly predict the sea's behavior. They completely lack his foundation of careful observation.
After the storm passes, George, who is definitely not laughing anymore, asks Ethan how he knew, and Ethan reveals he didn't learn it from books, but from daily listening. He says, "The sea teaches those who are patient." This single sentence completely shifts how the entire town views him forever.
Let's define that word, patient. It means being able to wait calmly without getting angry or frustrated. Ethan attributes all of his life-saving knowledge to this one trait. He possessed the rare ability to wait calmly, day after day, just listening to the water without demanding immediate answers. Because of this, the villagers stop calling him strange. Instead, they start calling him wise. To be wise means having deep understanding or good judgment. He went from being the town outcast to the town's most respected figure, all because of his quiet dedication.
Which brings us to Section 4, Lessons in Silent Growth. Let's move into our tutorial review to synthesize everything we've learned and uncover the deeper thematic meaning behind Ethan's story.
Take a look at this study guide table. It's fascinating to see how our vocabulary list naturally transitions from literal environmental words on the left side, like coastal, storm, howled, and surge, to complex human traits and conditions on the right side as Ethan grew. The story begins with negative human projections, strange, pointless, confused, but it ends with incredibly positive human attributes, carefully, patient, and wise. The vocabulary itself literally tells the story of his transformation.
And this brilliantly distills the moral of the story into 3 big takeaways. First, growth often happens in silence. You really don't always need to be the loudest person in the room to be learning. Second, what looks useless or pointless to others can become your greatest strength. And third, true success requires staying patient and consistent, just like Ethan returning to the sea every single evening.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a provocative thought to consider for your own personal journey. Look at your daily habits. Where in your own life could you benefit from silent growth and maybe just a little more patience? Think about what you might learn if you just took the time to sit and carefully listen. Thanks so much for joining me in class today. Keep learning, and I'll see you in the next explainer.